Hey guys, how's it going? So today I wanted to speak about a movie that has touched me since my childhood. And that movie is Back to the Future. So yeah, I actually remember very, very clearly catching this movie on TV when I was about 7 or 8 years old. And Marty had already got back into 1955 and he was talking to Doc Brown, and I was like, what is this film? This is amazing. And I just was glued to the screen, and since that moment I was pestering my parents to get a VHS of that movie. And of course at the time, especially being in Europe, sometimes it wasn't as easy to get these VHS cassettes. In America, I think it was much easier and much cheaper. But in 1987 Belgium, you could get VHSs, but they were expensive. And I think at the time we didn't even have a proper VHS recorder, which we got pretty soon later. But yeah, once I got a hold of that tape, gosh, I was watching it every day. I don't even remember how many times I saw that movie, and I was obsessed. I wanted to get the clothes that Marty had. I wanted to get his haircut. I was quoting lines, and bear in mind, at the time I was actually in Belgium, so I watched the film in French. So I was quoting all these lines in French. And then later on, I saw obviously the American version of it, and I clearly remember too. Back in Italy when I was visiting my family, at the time, you didn't really have internet, and I was a kid, but I saw on TV that they had a trailer of Back to the Future 2, and I'm like, oh my god, the movie's coming out. So I pestered my mom, and we obviously went to see it, and it was an amazing experience, seeing all this futuristic stuff and 2015. And then at the end of the movie they announced that there was part 3 that was going to come out, and it was going to be in 1885. And I thought, man, that's so cool. And then I remember a pretty cool experience. I got to see part 3 also at the movies, but on top of that, I got to attend the Belgian premiere, because there was, at those times, we had our version of the TV guide, and there was like a little cut-on thing that we could cut and send back to the company, and it would allow us to enter in this lottery to hopefully win 2 tickets to the premiere of Back to the Future 3 in Belgium. So I got to see it. Of course, the actors were there and all that stuff, but I got to see it before its release in Belgium. And I don't really remember the date, but it might have actually even been a little bit before the American release. And yeah, that was just such an influential movie. Up to this day, I've still bought the Blu-rays, and now I buy the IDW comics that kind of go and expand the universe, and they've also been, ironically, not ironically, but kind of, it's funny that it actually gave me a big interest in acting, because I was obsessed with Michael J. Fox, and I would just watch all his Family Ties and Secret of My Success and Doc Hollywood and The Hard Way and all these really cool films where he was acting in, and I would try to imitate his style, and I was like, damn, you know what? I want to create these kind of characters, and I want to create these kind of awesome universes, and it made me want to come to America. And so here I am in my mid-30s, and I immigrated to America at 18, trying to follow in the footsteps of Mr. Michael J. Fox. And I've always had a dream that I could one day write a script that could be as influential as Back to the Future has been. Because if you really think about it, this movie is over 30 years old. We're in 2018. It's 33 years old. And, you know, Bob Zemeckis and stuff, like, damn, like, gosh, like, they, like, Bob Zemeckis and Bob Gale, like, they really, like, created this crazy story that if you watch Back to the Future 1 nowadays, it hasn't aged. The special effects still look good. I mean, they even quoted it themselves. They said that Back to the Future 1 was not a special effects movie. It actually has very few effects, but they're hidden within a really huge soundtrack, and a lot of the subjects that are just talked about in that movie are so relevant to today's date. I mean, come on, Biff Tannen, they got him, they pinpointed him, they basically like based him on Donald Trump, and they just like were able to foretell things that were just going to happen 30 years later, and they created such fascinating characters with the dad and the son seeing his dad at the same age. And haven't you ever wondered how it would be if you could like go back in time and actually meet your parents and talk to them and converse with them at the same age as you know, going back those 20-30 years. And I think it's kind of amazing. It just brought this whole fascination, and also the fact of how everybody sees the old times as these wonderful times, but then once you're there, they're not as simple as you imagined them to be. It's just sort of glorified way of how the mind interprets the olden times as better times, but there's always these different issues, and it's kind of funny when you watch the making ofs, that because they portrayed at the time, of course, it was 1985 when they shot the first film. They portrayed 1955, and they kind of put all the best stuff of those times and made it in sort of a dream city. Hill Valley was a sort of caricature of the truth, and it showed all the best stuff and the more simple times in some ways, and I don't know. I think time travel stuff has always fascinated people because, strangely enough, now the 90s are coming back, and I used to be a kid in those days, a young teenager or even pre-teenager at the time, and I thought it was kind of cool. Like everything in those days smelled like roses and was beautiful, and you're just watching it from the point of view of a kid, you know? We have that nostalgia, and we try to always come back to it because there were simpler times when you didn't have to worry so much about the realities of life if you had a good childhood, obviously, because not everybody does. But I think yeah, that's why it makes you dream, and that's why people always dream of being able either to see the future, because the future too, like, either can be dystopian, as in many movies, or it could also be something much more beautiful where they've actually found peace and all that stuff, and I think it's kind of amazing. But yeah, so Back to the Future has really changed a lot of my life, and I think it changed in some way the way of thinking of a lot of other people, but not being filmmakers, a lot of people maybe don't realize how and why they actually like it. But me, having seen that film hundreds and hundreds of times obsessively as a kid, and having studied a lot of films, I can see how they really constructed such a beautiful story that's relatable to people of pretty much any age. And yeah, so that's Back to the Future for me. So hopefully you guys enjoyed my little talk. Have a great day, and see you in the nearby future.